there's a third, the world of objective contents of thoughts.
Civilization developing from one tiny area around 3100 BC and expanding outward from there. Instead, a number of closely related world cultures already existed, but began to become isolated and lose contact in 3100 BC when mankind's innate ability to communicate telepathically over large distances had run its course. Because of the each new bit of knowledge has to be derived from the one before approach, the experts are likely to dismiss out of hand anything anomalous, anything out of sequence with the prevailing chain of knowledge. An isolated bit of anomalous knowledge goes against deep-seated conviction knowledge develops. Hapgood's meticulous research indicates that not only were the principles of spherical trigonometry known long before their generally accepted data formulation, but also that, to have known and mapped so precisely the longitudes of the world's landmasses, ancient man must have traveled the globe freely and extensively, that direct communication with and/or settlement of those areas by the ancient Chinese and Indians seem very likely. The Olmec of Mesoamerica, whose earliest origins are obscure, show cultural and racial connections to Vedic India and Africa. The Olmec are best known for the immense stone heads that they left behind in the jungle of the Yucatan Peninsula, focused on the Fertile Crescent, an area including the Tigris and Euphrates River valleys, the Levant, and the Upper Nile. Western archaeologists are wary, even grudging, about including India or China in the same chronology of the development of civilization. Further, the idea that India and China had attained high degrees of development before the Fertile Crescent civilizations arose, let alone that these cultures were capable of world travel and the dissemination of their culture to North and South America, receives little acknowledgement in the West. Cultural pride has led some scholars to proclaim, in the East as well as the West, that their ancient culture is the true beginning of civilization. Such claims have obscured the perception of what was likely one interconnected world culture in Treta Yuga from which all ancient civilizations descended.
Into the stratigraphic layers of our past and reconstructing these ancient intellectual machines and setting their gears turning and seeing how it works. And hopefully when we recover, we're like amnesiacs. We're like people who don't remember who we are or where we came from, and we just wander mumbling through the streets of our cities, foraging in garbage cans and frightening other people. And yet if we could wake up, and archaeology and the rebirth of an awareness of the goddess and the pushing of science to the point where its irrational foundations become more clear. This is all part of a program of awakening, of an archaic revival that will then make us part of the living world rather than a disease, a parasitic force upon it.
one that can see.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick and kick and kick.
People began moving out of Africa and settling in the Middle East, in Palestine. Before that time, the stratigraphic record in Palestine indicates that it was very sparsely populated. But
that direct communication with and or settlement of those areas by the ancient Chinese and Indians seem very likely. The Olmec of Mesoamerica, whose earliest origins are obscure, show cultural and racial connections to Vedic India and Africa. The Olmec are best known for the immense stone heads that they left behind in the jungle of the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. 17 of them have been...
The thing that gave the Greeks their genius was that it was a mingling of a northern mentality coming out of Thracia and places like that, meeting a very old, mystical, feminist culture that had its roots 10,000 years deep in Saharan Africa via Egypt and Çatalhöyük in Turkey. Because it was said, even in classical times, what is celebrated in secret at Eleusis is celebrated publicly at Knossos.